be a theme song. Like, I feel like this is the perfect time for the Girlfriends theme song. My girlfriend,
Girlfriends,
there through
there
thick and
through thick and
thin.
thin.
Yes.
Yes. And it's
You
thick.
know, and
And it's thin.
one thing about it, it's thick as it's ever been. Like,
Thicker than a
can we
snake
talk for
guy.
a minute?
Mm.
Cause like I started off the year so strong and doing so well. And like I'm still working out, but I cannot keep food from falling into my mouth.
Girl,
I can't stop it.
I'm just trying to change my relationship with my hip circumference because it's being maintained at a high level.
And I see the scale going up and I
I
just can't
see
bring
it.
myself to I can't bring myself to care. I have spent all of my caring for the year. I'm all
I
out of it.
I still step on it every day.
Me too.
It's a truth and
Just to check,
accountability
just to check.
situation. Yeah, I'm just gonna be honest, because if I
Mhm.
don't, then I make up the stories like, girl, you didn't eat that much yesterday. No, you didn't do that bad this week. Then get on and be like, yeah, I did really bad. But at
The
least each
problem
day,
is, yes,
accountability. But I'm not
I'm
doing nothing
telling
different.
myself like it's water weight, and at the moment that you just stop eating the carbs, and it is. But the problem is, I'm not moving to the next part of the plan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like when we try to do that. Well, muscle weighs more than fat, and that's why I'm
Right,
gaining
right,
weight. And you
right.
just be like, you ain't gaining muscle that fast, sis. It doesn't work that way.
It's
But
also
here we are.
rest. My body doesn't have enough time to recalibrate and transform the things because I'm not sleeping.
Sleep
So
is everything too. Yeah,
it's a game changer. So
yeah.
next week we're resting. This week you're resting.
I
And what a
am.
rest you deserve. What a rest you deserve.
I do.
Because your life, like, can we talk about it for a minute? Your life, you know, it just won't
Yeah.
be still.
It just will not. I'm like one of those cartoon characters holding on to the back of the train with your legs flapping in the wind, the runaway train. Like it just
It just
won't
won't be
be
still.
quiet.
Every time
Yeah.
I think that we're at a place of stillness, your life says, "Hold my communion cup." And then begins to take off in another unexpected direction. At the
It did.
beginning of this year, you were like footloose and fancy free. Is that what
I
they say? That was
was.
you.
I
I
was. I was
remember
feeling
her.
like I got this now.
The
I
world is my oyster.
finally
I can do whatever. I'm like taking up
I was
space. You
feeling
started off in
something.
Rome. You were just like
Mm-hmm.
so free.
It was
And look
so
at you.
look at me. Look at me.
Change.
Girl, chains. I am a
a
prisoner of
slave to the a
Christ.
slave to the gospel.
When I tell you I went to Rome and I went to Rome because I wanted to visit Paul's tomb. I wanted to
Yeah, that's what you
walk where
get.
Paul had walked. Like that was one of the reasons Rome was on my bucket list. I wanted to get to that and I should have known better. I should have known better. I should have known better than to go
Yes.
and kneel by the bones of the man who defined what it means to be a prisoner of the Lord. I should have
I
known
mean,
better.
you play stupid
I
games.
I played myself.
But you've
Cause
answered the
man,
call. You've
how
answered the call.
child, what else can you say but yes to God? I
It's really
literally
something.
I have no other
When we
word.
talked to Dr. Sarah Lewis last week and we talked about just her book, which is, I know it's 10 years old, but it's just so beautiful, The Rise. And she's talked specifically about the gift of failure.
Mm,
And, I can remember, and this is like an annual thing at this point where we kind of close out the year together and just talk about womanhood and friendship and connection and community. But I can remember I don't even think it was public, but us having some podcast moments where I knew you were in a moment of transition, a moment
mm-hmm.
of unwrapping a gift of what we believed would be glorious ruins. And
Yeah.
there has been so many gifts that have been birthed from that moment of a rubble. I think that's what we called it when we had our podcast,
Yes.
Building from the
Yes.
Rubble.
Building from the rubble. Because somebody had written a book about making power moves.
Yuck.
Wasn't it around that time? Was
It
it around that
was, it
time?
was, it
Yeah, I thought
was.
so. Yeah. About these power moves.
And my
Mhm.
friend has discovered power in a new definition. And I
Sheesh.
don't know it would have been possible had you not gone through those moments of, I hate to use the word because failure has such negative connotation. I think, especially as like Christian, super spiritual people, are like, it wasn't a failure.
Yeah.
God used it for your good.
Yeah,
And
no,
so
I
I
have
use
no
that
need for
word.
that. I have no need for
Okay.
that, you
I
know?
use it
Y'all know me.
delicately, you know?
I mean, a marriage failed.
Yeah.
That is the truth. Divorce means a marriage failed, and so it did. Um, yeah, I'm getting a new relationship with the idea of failure this year for sure, and
Yeah.
what the humility that is often required to move into what God has for us next. And I just wasn't expecting this next at all, though. So you're right. My years have really been wild. It's just like, okay, the last time that we were talking about that, and that, yeah, I had survived a divorce and moved to a new state, and I mean, everything changed. My life was unrecognizable from a few years earlier, and I thought, okay, we got this, and now it is unrecognizable again. So yeah.
What's interesting to me is that most people would believe that if you go through a divorce, and I think what could make your situation a little unique, and please correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of people feel like they've lost themselves, especially when they've been in longer marriages, that they lose
Mm-hmm.
themselves and they don't have their identity. And I'm not suggesting that you didn't experience that, nor am I suggesting that that's everyone's experience. However, I do think that most people would assume that because you were accomplished, because you had so many different things going for you, that though you experienced the failure of the marriage, that there was still this identity that had been cemented that could exist outside of the context of the marriage. And I think as your friend,
Absolutely.
I certainly saw you be able to continue to do that. What I did not anticipate is that you would also step into a new dimension of identity in
Yeah.
becoming a pastor. So can I ask you, friend, like,
Eh.
you are the lead pastor at One Los Angeles. How did
Yeah.
we get here? What
How
happened? What
did
happened to
we
you?
get here? I'm not
Nobody.
supposed to be here.
How did this happen to you? Who did it? Who did it? What
Ah,
happened?
I know people probably are wondering that. It really was God that did it. And it's so interesting because he is always interested in growing us. And the way you just said that about, okay, I had this identity that did persist outside of and beyond a marriage, and that was 100% true. And I was grateful for that,
Yeah.
that that's something that I feel like I absorbed from my mom and my grandmother, about just always being who you are. I never felt lost in the role of wife. I never felt lost in the role of mother. When my children went empty nest and we went empty nest, I was like, I love them to death, and also, like, I got plans. I wasn't
Yeah.
left wondering, "What will I do now that my kids are gone?" That wasn't my experience. I know that is the experience for many moms, and that's fine, but for me, it wasn't. I was really clear, and so that did feel like a bedrock that did help me remain, restabilize after being married for almost 27 years. And
Oof.
so, while I was grateful, right? Hey, but I do have this. Anita knows who she is. She is independent of all of these different relationships of being mother, being wife. That identity existed. And then God was like, I'm glad that helped you. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Now watch me smack that out of your hand, give you an identity that you were not expecting, not prepared for, not anything. And now I have to reshape my relationship with my identity. So the
Oh.
thing that felt like my bedrock, my stabilizer, now has been shifted entirely. And so, man, God be up to stuff. He be up
Can
to
re
stuff.
Reshaping our identity. Okay, so
Mhm,
most of us are
mhm.
at this time of the year where we are beginning to realize that, like, we're at the end of it, things are wrapping up, and, maybe some people have had the most amazing my year wasn't necessarily bad, but it
I
it
mean, you
wasn't
had a little
necessarily.
shift this year too, sis. We'll get to that.
Yeah, I was okay, not too much, not too it's my
I remember
podcast.
flying to Dallas to attend an installation. So, yeah, I think you had a little
I d
year this year
I
too.
do think that it was a year of redefinition.
Mhm.
It has been a year of redefinition, and redefinition doesn't necessarily feel good or bad, it just feels foreign. and I have had
It felt a little
to
bad
period.
for me. What was that, heat? We're still turning heat in the
Heat.
light. It's still hot.
Ooh.
It's
You know
still
what
hot.
the hardest part of this year was for me? It wasn't even
Ooh.
necessary because I feel like the Dallas thing has been going on for so long
Mm-hmm.
that by the time we stepped into it, like the bad part of it, I had already become
Gotten through.
numb to. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So
Versus
that
the
was fine.
whiplash that I experienced, which
Oh
was
yeah,
like
no, you
one day I
yeah,
was minding my business and then the next day
everything was
I
your
wasn't.
business.
Yes.
I
Yes.
do
But go ahead.
feel like though in this process, the hardest part for me this year was really what happened after Woman Evolve. I could
Mm.
not have imagined. But now I see I'm kind of like some people are like the early experiencers of
Mm-hmm.
certain cultural shifts. And now I
Mm.
just see how easy it is to become like a trending topic. Like and you're just like living your life in the way you've always lived your life, but now there's just
Yeah.
so many opportunities for different opinions and perspectives about the way that you're showing up in a way that didn't
100%.
exist before. And so I think that that probably invited me more than anything to reclaim my identity. You want to talk about the
Mm-hmm.
conversation from last week where we talked about separating our outcomes and just having an offering. It really purified my offering
Mm.
in a way that I feel like I am still navigating and like taking hold of my sacred identity outside of
Mm.
the outcomes that exist for other people, good or bad. And that
Mm.
reclamation process has probably been some of the hardest work that I've done this year. But I think it's also because ministry started for me from such a random place that I think for a long time, like I could not believe that God was using me. Like literally couldn't
Mm.
believe it. Like, I just could not believe it, and that it was, like, impacting people's lives, like, I couldn't believe so the testimonies and stuff were affirming me in a way that I think that God desires to affirm me, so I almost
Mm.
needed this, like, Band-Aid ripped off where I could trust and stand in what God did and that I said what God told me to say without needing the affirmation or validation from others, especially in a world that's gonna have so many different opinions and perspectives. So
Yeah.
that was like the
That's yeah.
hardest part. The hardest
Yeah.
gift to unwrap this year was that opportunity to not see people talking badly about me as failure or people
Mm-hmm.
mischaracterizing me or misjudging me as failure, but as an opportunity to really stand firm in who I know God's called me to be and to walk with humility and grace, right? I don't want to be unteachable, but also
Mm-hmm.
qualifying who the teacher gets to be.
Oof. Oof. That's good.
We
That's
got to
good.
qualify. Some of these teachers that are trying to teach you lessons, they're not certified in you.
Listen, they
They're not
not.
certified. They don't know how you like to learn. They don't know how you need to hear it. They don't
Right,
know how to
right.
they don't not every person who has something to say to you or about you should have the
Mm,
ability to become the teacher that molds the way you show up in the world.
right. I
You've
don't need to
got to
swallow that.
really seek God about who has he called to be a teacher for you and who is just in the peanut gallery making noise. And like I mean that like no shade, no shade, no tea, you know?
Yeah. But it's the
That's
moment that
just
we live in where there's a peanut
yes.
gallery everywhere around every corner.
And I'm such a delicate little flower. I'm
You are
just a
not.
girl.
You are not.
I am a delicate
You
flower.
are not.
I am. I'm
You
a
are
I'm
big-hearted and you care about people. And so that doesn't make you delicate.
so delicate. I be ready
Mm.
to not do the but anyways, this isn't about me.
I
This
feel
is
you
about
though.
you.
I feel you though. I feel you on that sense of delicacy though. I've definitely felt like paper mache this year.
Oh my
I
gosh,
have
I'm
felt that
so
fragile. I am
soft.
paper
Why?
mache level. Toss a pebble and it's going to pop something. Like I have been so fragile this
Oh,
year. I have experienced fragility in a way that on a sustained basis that I've never experienced in my life like this. Not like this. Not like this. Because I was forced stepping into the pastor role. One, the shock of it. So for people who don't know how it happened, maybe we should say
oh
how
yes.
it
Oh right, right, right.
happened.
Let's. rewind. Let me tell you how it happened, and you can
You tell me
interject.
how it happened. Go
Because
ahead.
this is my story to tell. This is my story to tell. The fires happened in Los Angeles,
Mhm.
created so much devastation, and
Yeah.
there was really I think the Sunday, it may have not been the Sunday that you came, it was the Sunday before you came. To the team was so widespread. The city was in so much hurt that people were like, I don't even know if we should have church this Sunday. Like, no, we got to have a
Wow.
place to gather. But it had just been
Mhm.
that devastating. And so my husband's just randomly walking around the house and he's like, I think I'm going to ask Dr. Anita to speak on Sunday because the city was
Mhm.
still hurting. He had been there, but he really wanted to be careful, just loving the city through this difficult time. I'm like, I think that'd be
Right.
brilliant. She's going to make sure that people feel safe, feel seen. She's going to create a sense of anchoring and grounding. And I think that'll be beautiful. So we're in Dallas. My friend's getting ready to preach in LA. We've left service. We're watching on YouTube when we drive home, which is what we do. That's like our rhythm. When we leave Dallas, we turn on one in the car and just experience the service there. And I log in and you've got the room singing.
Mm.
And connected. And there was this, the only way to explain it, and one has been so critical in shaping my ministry journey and helping me to hear and understand the voice of God. The only thing I can say is it just felt like one. It felt
Mm.
like one has always been this space. There was literally a Yelp review or a Google review that's like, one is the kind of church for people who don't like going to church. And it felt like the
So
kind
good.
of service where even in the midst of this devastation, even in the midst of this chaos, that there was an opportunity for harmony, for beauty, for anointed healing, if we could just get together. And it was so powerful that PT texted me. He's like, are you watching this? I'm like, yeah, I'm watching. It's crazy. It's beautiful. It just felt like it tapped into the core of what one is. And you get to tell the story from here.
So yeah, so people will probably be surprised because of our relationship. That was my first time ever speaking at one.
Yeah.
And after
Hmm.
living in California for almost 2 years, I hadn't even been up there on a Sunday because usually I'm traveling and speaking on the weekends. And so it was my first Sunday morning at one in 5 years. And it was my first time ever speaking there. And when I walked in, I just had this rush in my spirit like, man, why haven't I been here every week? Like, I just felt like this is where I should be when I'm home. I'm going to start coming more. I was just like, man, this room. And during the first service, I was just looking at the people and I was just like, man, I just love these people. It was this overwhelming like love and joy. And I was like, yeah, I definitely got to come here more. I should have been coming. And then preach the first service, come back for the second service. I'm in worship. I'm looking around. I close my eyes. I'm just having my worship moment. And then I open my eyes and I hear that part of me, the prophetic, that speaks words to other people say, oh my God, I'm the pastor of this church.
Yikes.
And I was like, what? It was like the Anita brain and the prophetic were having this conversation. And I was just like, no way. No way. And I started laughing in that moment because it was ridiculous, but I also kind of had this wave of joy. I knew it was the truth, but it was wild. And then I had to go up and to preach. So there was that. I had to go back up, preach the second service. And I left and said nothing.
She said
And you are
nothing.
my way. I said nothing.
So PT and I are like, "Are you watching this? Are you watching this?" And she's preaching, and so I text her, and I'm just like, "Powerful services at one today." I'm like, I think I asked her, "How'd you feel?"
Mm-hmm.
And she's
Shoot, I
like,
should pull it
felt.
up.
You have to scroll, scroll, scroll,
Let me get
because
the receipt on that.
we were like talking so ambiguously. I'm like, how'd that feel for you in the room? And she's I think kind of churched me like, hope I was a
Uh-huh.
blessing to the people, and God certainly
Uh-huh. Yeah,
moved.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
If you ever
I
need me
think
to serve again, just
right,
call. No
right,
problem.
yeah. And I kind of just was like, I tested it. I just put them like emoji eyes, just kind of like, did we
Yes, yes.
see the same thing?
The side eye. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she didn't say anything to me about it. But PT, let me tell
Not a
you something
peep.
about that man, PT. He doesn't beat around the bush. I thought it was just me. Like when he met me, he was just so enamored by me that he didn't beat around the bush.
Uh-huh.
What I know now that I didn't know then is that he doesn't beat around the bush.
He
I don't
does
think it
not.
may have been Monday morning at 6 a.m. And he's like calling her, like, hey, did you feel
Yeah.
that? Because I felt
It was
something
like
there.
6:49 a.m., something like that.
Not that you remember.
Not that I remember, but after we were texting and you were just like, "Hey, we're seeing something here." And I'm just like, "Yeah, well, praise the Lord, LOL, anything you need, I'm there." And I will never forget this. I see the text. I have it right here, right? I'll
Oh,
never
you do?
forget
Uh-oh.
this. Yeah, but you said, we'll pray. God has never not spoken to you.
Yeah.
This we know. And I just said, that's a fact. And then there's my girl, the dog, the
Sitting
I sitting
down,
there
just taking
like,
it.
yes. And I was it, but I still didn't say anything, even though God had already spoken. Cause I was like, yeah, I got to go to sleep and see if that's still here when I wake up tomorrow. Cause this is not a small thing.
No,
And
it's
so,
huge.
yeah, this is huge. Went to sleep. I didn't say anything about it to anyone, not any of my other friends. I just went to sleep. Woke up the next morning at 5:30 a.m., which I don't do. And I felt like the Holy Spirit was standing over the bed like, "Good morning. I'm still
Yeah.
here." And I was like, "Dang, still there, still there." I called a friend, prayer warrior friend. I shared it with them. They were like, "Yeah, wow." And then PT texted me around 6:30, 6:40, and said, "Hey, do you have time to talk today?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm free for about 3 hours." And then the phone rang. And I remember staring at the phone like, this is a literal answer the call.
Yeah,
Like when
yeah,
I
yeah.
swipe and answer this call, my whole life is going to shift. The actual foundation of my life is going to shift.
L
And so I answered.
Let's talk for a minute about something being divine and terrible, divine and difficult. And
Okay.
I feel like this is such this is such
This is that.
And let me tell you why, because if you're listening, you're like, how could obedience ever be difficult? That means to me that you've never fully really obeyed. Sometimes God calls you to do something that requires you to abandon everything that makes you feel secure, comfortable, confident, powerful, so that you
Everything.
rely solely on Him. This willingness to lay your life down, to abandon your life, to step into the call is excruciating. It just is. You
Mm-hmm.
are vulnerable all of the time. You are uncertain some of the times. And the only
Most of the
time
time.
that I'll say most of the time,
In
but the
some ways,
only
most of the
time
time. Yeah.
the only time that you're not is when you are fully in the thing that he's called you to do. Because then there are some moments for me where I am just so sure that this is where I'm supposed to be, that there's no room for uncertainty in that moment.
Yeah, I guess uncertain. There's no room for uncertainty in,
Thank you.
am I doing what God said to do? Did I
Yeah.
hear God correctly? Like, no room for that. Uncertainty in terms of like, what skills do I need to develop? I haven't done
Yeah.
this before, the human part of me, but like, there was no uncertainty in this, which should have been a warning, right? That
Yeah.
it was so clear. And then God speaks to me, God speaks to PT, God speaks to you. I think one of the moments I always laugh at is when he called and we were having the conversation and you were on the phone as well. And I finally admitted that God had spoken this thing to me. And he was just like, "Did she tell you that?" It's like, "No, she didn't tell me because it would have been over already." It's like, here we are. And then there were so many other confirmations. It was just like boom, 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 boom. And it's like when God front loads confirmation like that in this undeniable way,
Yeah.
you're being anchored deeply because the strength of the wind to come will require that there has not been a moment when I could say in any real way, maybe we all miss God on this. Nope,
Yeah.
nope, nope. And when that door is closed, like people think they want that. You want this absolute surety that I am in the will of God. But honey, when that happens, click, click, that's it.
Yeah.
You really
When
can't,
you can't go ahead. Go
there's
ahead.
no rethinking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you want to be like, if I just know 100% that it's God's will, I'll be fine. I don't know, fine, fine. I don't know what fine is, but it's the weightiest it's the weightiest thing I feel like I've ever said yes to. And I've said yes
Yeah.
to a lot of things. But this one is no joke.
You
This is
know,
no
I
joke.
I felt I feel the same way about Dallas though. I feel like it
Mhm.
just it just pulls from what I know I don't have, but what I know God will give me. It
And
just
the
I
thing
know.
between don't have and getting it, that little space in between, I
And then I just don't think people want you want to know your purpose. You want to know your purpose. Your purpose is the thing that requires you
mm,
to fully depend on God so that his purposes can be performed through you. The thing that you say, you know what? I cannot do this the way that I have been called to do it with my own strength, my own resources, my own knowledge. It is going to require that I partner with God for everything. And if you are Miss Independent, if you are, I don't need nobody, I don't want to rely on nobody, it is possible that that also shows up in your relationship with God, where you would rather God just give you a command and you perform it than to have
yes.
to walk out partnership with God that requires dependency, step by step teaching and leaning in and guiding. It
Mhm.
has this way of making you feel small and larger than life at the same time.
Yes.
It's something.
Teeny tiny. No, it is. And when I was in Rome, when I did find Paul's tomb, and we got lost and turned around. It took us 2 hours to find it. Like I was about to give up, and it's just like I cannot give up. I knew I had to get there. I get beside that tomb. They have these kneelers where you can kneel down like to pray. And I just got down on my knees there and all of a sudden burst into tears. There was this weeping that I could not stop. I almost panicked because I'm like, what is this thing that's happening? And like I know now that my spirit was ahead of me and what God was asking me for and what he was giving me that I was going to need. It was mind blowing. And I all I could say at that space was, God, I don't know what this is that you're placing on me, this weight, but I'm saying yes to you, even though I don't know what it is. But it is this heavy. And this was it. Or at least this is the first manifestation. The pastor role is the first manifestation of what that was
Yeah, the
happening to me
first.
that day. I can't say this is all it is, but it's definitely that, the weightiness of it, but it also felt like an honor. It felt like it just
Yeah.
felt like it felt like giving everything. It was like the biggest yes ever. And the fact that God asked me for it and extracted it from me before I knew what it was, like that's one of the anchoring points. But it did transform the way I'm living. So I
Yeah.
think I might have said this last year how when I was walking through my marriage ending and walking through divorce, it was so emotionally painful that my inner world became very noisy, noisier than it's
Mm.
ever been. So throughout my life, I always had a strong inner voice. And as my relationship with God grew, I could hear God. I had an internal conversation anchor. And once I had that, I could always see the horizon past any storm. But it was so noisy inside of me at that time that for the first time in my life, my inner world was too noisy for me to feel like I was hearing clearly, which was
Wow.
very disconcerting. So I had to change. I had to relate to God in a totally new way. So I described that season as pillar of cloud by day, pillar of fire by night. I had to actually follow the signs that God was giving me so I knew what my next external step was. I did not have an inner compass, an inner voice I had to follow with my eyes, so to speak. Never had to do that before. Very disconcerting. Got it down pat though. It took me a couple years. I got really good at it. And now I'm in another one. I'm in daily bread life now.
Yeah.
And that's new. That is new again. So I got that internal voice came back. Like when God spoke and I realized like this, I'm the pastor of this church. That was the loudest internal rise that I had had in a couple years. So that was the shift. I recognized it. And then I got thrust into this truly daily bread. Mercies are new every morning. What do I have for today? And that's it. And that's a whole new way of living now with God. And
You know,
I'm not a
mm,
fan
yeah,
yet.
I gotta be honest. I'm sure.
It's still hard. It's very hard for me to do this. And I know people, so many, I don't know, but so many people have said to me, everyone that I've talked to has said, I can easily see you as a pastor. Oh, that makes so much
Yeah.
sense. But I'm not one of them. I did not see that at all. I didn't see it at all. So it's big for me.
As you're talking, I don't know if it's because I'm tired or because I love you or what, but I feel a little emotional because I'm thinking to myself about like what makes this so hard for me? Like, what is it that, because
Mm,
I'm just trying to tap into what the difficulty has been for me. And
mm-hmm.
I feel like it's so multifaceted, like the
Mm-hmm.
pressure
Mm-hmm.
and the pain of
Unrelenting
it. Um,
pressure.
and
It's
it's like
unrelenting.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to I don't want to mess this up. You know what
That
I
part.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I take so seriously this honor and privilege of being a trusted voice and a
Mm-hmm.
leader. And I only want to give them what God tells me. And I just I feel like I love the people so much that I
Mm-hmm.
love them enough to say that you deserve better. And I
Mm.
don't even mean that like in a funny
I
way.
know what you
I'm
mean.
just like I feel like you deserve someone better. I don't know what better looks like. Like maybe it's someone more educated, maybe it's someone more eloquent. Like I love you enough to say that I really feel like you deserve better. And so I'd be like, God, if you don't want to use me, or if you're not going to use me, or if
I just want to
something's
put it out
wrong,
there. Mm-hmm.
this Sunday when I get up there, just like make it so clear. And he just
Mm.
continues to show up. And so I'm just like, okay, I am who God is using for this time in this moment. And then the humility of that is another type of excruciating.
Yes, that part. Mm-hmm.
'Cause then
Mm-hmm.
it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, Lord, of all like, I know of a few people who could do this better, and the fact that you would use me and allow your spirit to rest on me, and that you restore like, you really do restore me, and you haven't forgotten about me, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, it's just I wanna get to a place where that doesn't take me by surprise, but I also never want to allow that to become so normal to me that I forget how beautiful it is.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think I concur. I concur. I second that in every way. I don't know that there's any skill set, education, gift, whatever can be obtained externally that would change that because I think in cases like ours, God will just strip all that away anyway in terms of its usefulness so that it, again, like you said, it's what he wants. And the humility, I felt like I had a grasp on humility before,
Mm,
but now
lower, lower,
lower, lower, lower, lower,
lower. Dude,
lower,
you used to say
lower.
at Vacation Bible School came around and bit you.
Lo- and it has felt like that because when I am doing something new, so I have a new book that is coming out, but early in January I was like workshopping it. I had put together this group of people, and I was meeting with them once a week, just like teaching the material, walking through it. I wanted to make sure it was going to be clear, and I remember saying to them, this is before one dropped into my life. That was even a new pursuit for me because I don't bring things out until they are
Yeah.
done. I don't learn in public. I don't know how to do
Uh,
something. I will learn
uh,
how to do it first and then I will come
yes.
outside. I have a trainer
Yes.
who comes, he's teaching me the boxing thing. I don't go to the boxing class. You come let me figure this out and then I'll show up looking like I halfway know what I'm doing, but I don't
Right.
go from scratch out here in the streets. And so it was a big move for me to come to them with like undone work, but it was really beneficial. But I feel like stepping into the lead pastor role at one, I'm having to learn to do this
In front of people.
in front of everyone and
Yeah. I hate
staff
that too.
members, the world, you guys, like the layer that brings into our relationship. Like, oh my God, I
It's
don't get a
terrible.
chance to be an expert at anything right now that's
Yeah.
related to what I'm doing. And so you said earlier, the vulnerability is just a state of existence that is contrary to how I prefer to live. And it's tough stuff. It's tough stuff, but it is about like this consistent vulnerability where I am allowed to be completely human and not let that diminish how much I believe in what God is saying to me, telling me, To not trust yourself and to trust yourself to hear him at the same time. Yeah.
So someone listening would say, "Why would you why? Why do it? Why do it
Yeah,
then?"
right? One of the things that does give me confidence is knowing his voice, and that I can look back now and see that this does absolutely make sense in the arc of things. And so I trust God. Don't look at me, don't look at a Pastor Sarah and be like, yeah, I would never want to say yes to that level of smushing, crushing, because we this not 101. We not at 101. This postdoc work in the spirit. Like we
Mm,
are we're operating at the level of experience, call, whatever that God has required of us. You have to say yes to what he requires of you.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it will cost everything. And if you got 5 cents in your pocket, it's gonna cost 5 cents. And if you got five thousand
yeah.
dollars, it's gonna cost that. If you got 50, it will cost everything. But there's these moments. There's these moments, especially on a Sunday or sitting with a member one-on-one or women's Bible study. There's these moments that I pause to memorize, that I let my body soak up these moments of what the worship sounds like. These moments when I see someone who I've known been going through something hard hit that altar at church, and I see them getting their breakthrough, and I've had the privilege to pour into them, but I see God coming and doing that. Like there's these moments when you have this awareness that I would have done it all for right now. I'd have done it all for right this minute for God.
Yeah.
And I hold on to those and I reflect on those in between those moments. Like, that's the best way I can explain it. It's even as much as it is costing, it is worth it because what's that scripture say? That the weight of glory will outweigh, the weight of the
Yeah.
glory to be revealed will completely outweigh this. And I do see
Yeah.
that. We do see that. At Woman Evolve, we saw that.
Yeah.
And the weight of thread cannot outweigh the
Yeah.
glory. The weight of the peanut gallery cannot outweigh the glory. Like it just doesn't. And so that's why you say yes. That's why I could not have resisted saying yes in Rome to a call and a weight that I didn't even know what it was, but I felt the heaviness. But the love affair that me and God have, how can I not say yes to him? That love affair is rock solid. And I don't ever
And
want to not be in it.
nobody wants to be Jonah either. For me, it's kind of
No.
like
Oh,
I know
listen.
enough to
Mm-mm.
know that one thing they can say a lot about the girl, but one thing they'll never be able to say is that like when I have a conviction, I act on the conviction. Now, if he ain't convicted me about it, I don't know what to
Right.
tell you.
And y'all, I'm a witness because I can remember those conversations with Sarah before Dallas. It was just like, him ain't speak to me yet.
until
And
he
when him
until
speak,
I will
I
not
don't care how
ignore the
obvious
voice
it
of God.
looks.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
don't
no for me till it's a
care. I
yes
don't
from
care
him.
what it looks like. I don't care what happens when I preach there. Until God makes it clear
Ah.
that that's where these hips belong, I will be over here in my house cuz I don't care about the aesthetic of it all. Like
Right. I love that about you.
I don't. But when God gives me a conviction, I move on it. And I
That's it.
can't not do it because I do believe that the safest place in the world is in the
Is
will of
in the
God.
will of God.
And I believe
Mm-hmm.
that conviction moves us towards that will. And so a lot of times people are wondering, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Your conviction is your guide. It's the Holy Spirit leading you and
Mm-hmm.
guiding you. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
because the Holy Spirit isn't convicting us about our destiny, our generational wealth, our this or our that, we feel
Mm.
like, well, just because he's convicting me about this, if he don't convict me about that, I'm not going to move. But we don't understand that obedience creates an atmosphere for us to move
Yes.
further into the vision that God has for us in his master plan. And so
Right.
practicing saying yes on a small level is how we build the muscle to say yes on a big level. So to your point, Dr. Anita, like we had to say yes in a few small ways that didn't seem like a big deal so that
Mm-hmm.
when it was time to say yes in some hard ways, we couldn't say no.
We couldn't say no. And that's, man, that's a whole thing right there to dive into. The difference between a wholehearted yes and I can't say no. And they're linked.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, the Jonah is why we can't say no, because we know better. This
I
is not
know
gonna go well
better.
for
I
us.
wish I
This will
didn't.
not go
He will
well.
ruin
This will not go
I
well.
know the Lord. Like y'all want to talk about the Lord who will bless you and all that stuff. Yes. I want to talk about Old Testament God who says, if you do not do what I ask you to do, I'm going to let pestilence fall upon you. I'm going to let you be captured. I'm going to make sure your life is ruined. And the moment you call out to me, I can reverse all of those
I
things, but
got
you're
you.
not just going to be
Yes.
out here doing you when I need you to do me.
That facts. And it's not worth the resistance, right? Because Jonah, let's get in Jonah. The
Yes.
Jonah, not only he ran away because he didn't want to do it, his heart wasn't right. Jumps in the water because he don't want to hurt other people, right? Because the boat's about to go down and hurt other people. So we will have those moments where you say yes because you realize your yes is about to hurt other people.
Yeah.
Then he gets in the water. The whale gets him. He spends the 3 days. He comes out of the whale because he has agreed to do what God told him to do. So he goes and does it. But Jonah's story doesn't end well
Yeah.
because he didn't let God change his heart.
Mm.
It changed his Jonah had a change of
Ah,
direction, but
yeah,
he did not have a change of heart.
yeah,
He was left sitting on the side of that mountain mad at God for not destroying Nineveh because he
yeah,
still wanted Nineveh to be destroyed. And so, like, I think that we're always, and I know this from talking to you, and you know this from talking to me, like, for us, it's not even just about the yes to do the thing. It's this yes.
yeah,
I want to be on the same page as God in my heart.
yeah,
I don't want to just do it. Jonah did it, but he didn't have a change of heart. And so that opening up and letting God just rip our hearts out to reconstruct them, to
yeah.
make
I'll give
us,
you a heart of flesh. Yeah,
yes, the stone flesh
I'll give you
trade.
the desires of your heart. I will help you desire this. And now
And then
I
I
can
will
say,
fit made it. Yeah.
the Potter's house
Mm-hmm.
represented a lot of different things for me. One, I grew up,
Mm-hmm.
I hated church. I just did. I just hated church. We were there all of the time. I didn't have any of the church spiritual gifts. It didn't make sense to me. So I really
Mm.
saw it as a place of just like boredom. It took my parents away from
Mm-hmm.
me in my mind. Like, now whatever we get into a whole thing about that because my mom has reflected and said, it didn't have to be that way. And so you talking about the body keeping score. This building, this place has represented a
Yeah.
place of restriction, of hurt, of grief, of pain for me. And now God's wants me to lead there. And so one of my prayers was like, God, help me to love these people and to love this place the way that you love it. So I feel like the first couple of years of us being there wasn't even about like, what's the succession plan? Is there a plan? It was really God changing my heart towards the place where
Mm-hmm.
I was like I'd be excited to go to church, which is like
Yeah.
crazy because
People don't
you,
know, but yes, it is.
you, you, you know,
Uh-huh.
and to love on the people and that I don't have to pretend to be someone I'm not to do it. Like I don't go up
Right.
there and pretend that I'm someone else. Like I get to be myself and serve what God's doing in the lives of people. And, you know, but God gave me a heart for it. And
Yeah.
lately I feel like God's working on my heart in a way that I'm having a difficult time giving language to, but I do
Mm.
feel like there is an identity transformation that's taken place in my heart, a settling
Mm.
into who God is, who God has always been. So I read scripture and I'm like, I think that's who you are. And he's like, girl, not only
Mm.
is that who I am, that's who I've always
Always been.
been.
I
That's
love
who
that.
I've always been. And so I was reading, it was like Isaiah
Mm.
44, and he was talking to Israel, and he said something. Oh, Lord, help me to remember. Oh, he said that he blotted out their transgressions like a thick cloud. I blotted out your transgressions. And all I see is you as purely. And then he goes,
Wow.
return to me. And it's like,
Mm.
sometimes we're distant from God because we
Yeah.
think that he remembers and that he'll hold us
Mm.
to that moment that we can't forget, not realizing that he's not even looking at it.
He's
He's like,
always
return to
there.
me, that I haven't moved its shoe. And it's like,
Yes.
God, you stayed in position. Like while I was hating church, you was like, you'll be back one day. You'll be back. And your heart will be in a better place and you'll be
Mhm.
healed and you'll see the
Mhm.
beauty in this place. And your parents will take ownership of the ways that they showed up in your childhood. It'll be okay. It'll be
Yeah.
okay. And I feel like God is loving on me in a way that I don't want to miss. So I'm
Mm.
finding myself forcing myself to be present. You know me, I'm a planner. I'm like, I'm never in the moment because if you're in the moment, you're not planning for the future.
Right.
Hello. And so I am really reminding myself to like experience this joy, experience this
Mhm.
peace, and to keep God's presence in front of me in all the things that I do. And in keeping his presence in front of me, I'm able to see all of the ways that his love is headed my way.
I love that. It comes back to the love affair. Yeah, it
Yeah.
comes back to that love affair. It's staying in the moment is big for me right now too. Like I said, daily
Yeah.
bread.
Yeah.
What Dr. Sarah said last week about that arc of history.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm very much clinging to what I know about the arc of the story he's been writing in my life.
Mm.
Um, so it's a cliffhanger right now. It's a cliffhanger, like where are you going
Where's
with
this
this?
headed?
Where are you going with this? Exactly, because it was to step into the pastoral role, it was like such a big it felt like a comet hit the planet that is me. Everything just got pushed out of place, and I'm trying to understand how it fits into my overall identity, life, course, everything. And I'm just like, okay, but you know what? God has absolutely blown me away with the story he has written up to this point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my daily bread, but I have so much confidence in the arc of the story
Yeah.
that he's writing about my life. And that helps me to not be anxious about time, because I turned 52 years old this year. I'm I'm calling half. I'm gonna run to
Mm.
104. My grandmother lived to be 103 years, 11 months, and some days old, almost 104. So I'm like, okay, we'll do 104. So maybe I'm half done, but there's something weighty about that. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about like my age. I'm looking at my children be adults and what I want to accomplish. But right now, I don't feel like it's my story to write.
Yeah.
He knows the desires of my heart and my thoughts, but just trusting him, the arc of the story he's writing about my life lets me stay in this daily bread moment, if that makes sense. And that's necessary. I never disliked church in the way that you once did.
Mhm.
But I had a storyline, a generational storyline about what it means to be a pastor,
Mm.
and I had no interest. So I wasn't just surprised by being pushed in this position, but it's touching something for me that I was like,
Mm.
because anybody who knows me, including you, knows how much this is ridiculous. And I was just like, I will never have to worry about that again. I won't date a pastor. I won't be I mean, I was like, it will
Crazy.
never, I was real loud about it, that it would never be. Um, and then here we are. So God is working out something for me as well. And just a surprise about how he does fulfill his word, right?
Yeah.
Because we can know God speaks something, but not know how it's going to manifest. And when we first met, and started, like when God put us together as friends, one of the things I knew also was that he had called me to labor in partnership with you in ministry in different ways. Didn't see this one though.
No,
Didn't
not
see
at
this,
all.
didn't see this Potter's house situation. This
I
was
have to tell
not
you though,
it.
and I know we have to hop off, but I want to say
Yeah.
this for those of you who are listening in particular.
Mm.
Dr. Anita did have a very long list of what she wasn't going to do, and dating a pastor was
Ooh.
one of them for sure. And after all of the holy, sacred moments of, earlier this year transpired, I had to be the petty friend that was like, now look at you, a whole clown. Look at you with your big old red nose.
Ooh.
Miss, I ain't gonna date a pastor has now become one.
The pastor. Now folks out there saying that about me. I ain't gonna
Right,
date a pastor, and
imagine
I'm the
that.
pastor. Ooh, child, this was a flip script of epic proportions. Epic
One word
proportions.
to define who you have become this year.
Mm, dependent.
Mm,
Hurts me. That hurt.
terrible.
I felt that all in his area, but that's the
Yes.
word. I heard that word immediately when you asked. I was waiting for another one, but another one didn't come. And so it is dependent. In a way that I have not been before, dependent on God, um, and dependent on the people who love me and surround me as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, dependence. It's a moment of deep dependence. And we say that all religiously, but like I'm saying that in a very real way. The kind that makes
Mm.
your stomach churn a little bit, the
Yeah, yeah,
kind that makes
yeah.
you want to lay down in the fetal position,
Yes.
the kind of dependence you don't always want to have the experience of. I'm having that in a deep, deep way this year. But I'm starting to see sparks of what God is doing in that.
Yeah.
And so I know it's going to be good.
My word, and I don't know why this is my word, so I'm gonna take it into my prayer closet, but steady.
Mm,
I feel like the Lord has really made me steady this year. Maybe more
mm,
sturdy, but steady.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm gonna figure out
Yeah.
what that is. Maybe that's what I'll talk to the podcast about next week is
I,
why.
I just had this image of I used this example in a message earlier this year, but when boxers are training, one of the things that blows me away the most is they do exercises that make their neck strong.
Mhm.
Like they're literally like got things on their head and they're like lifting weights with their neck to make their neck strong. Because when something hits,
Yeah.
some of them, they barely even move because
Yeah.
they're able to absorb it. They are able to remain
Mm.
steady even when they're hit. Like a hit that would knock me clear to the ground barely turns their head because of the strength that they've built. And that's the image that I just had when you said sturdy. That it even,
Mm.
it's like, yeah, it's not even going to put you off balance
Well,
because
that's
the
my word.
strength that he's building. So you got this. You
I
got
love you,
this.
friend.
I love you. I miss you.